Good evening and welcome to the People's Court this evening. Tonight we want to talk about something very interesting and something very close to the heart of Kenya. It's about national cohesion, but we're going to approach it from a different angle. See, recently there was a report by the NCIC that's called the Ethnic and Diversity Report, particularly focused on the county governments of Kenya. And would you believe that there are some counties with upwards of 97% staffing of one single tribe? That's what we're going to talk about this evening, and here to help us unpack that report and extract some insights for you and I are my three guests. We've got Mr. Honorable Farah Abdulaziz, who's a commissioner at NCIC. Karibu sana. We also have the Honorable Raphael Chimera, who is a nominated senator and a very interested party in this subject. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
And of course, last but not least, absolutely not least, is, I believe the title is CHRP, goodness, Quresha Abdullahi. This is the IHRM Executive Director. That is the, this is an employer or a recruiter of note, and she's going to be sharing with us her feedback on this. Karibuni sana. Thank you, madam. Thank you, gentlemen. Karibuni. First things first, Mr. Abdulaziz, what were your impressions when you're looking at that report? You actually an insider when the data was coming in. What are your reactions?
Not interesting, not pleasing. It is really a bad picture of our country, and for this case, for our counties. It paints a picture of us being tribal still. Paints a picture of us not being cohesive. It paints a picture of us not being inclusive and not accepting each other. So it's kind of a picture that does not augur well for me and for you and for the country.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Honorable Chimera, what were your impressions when you look at this, just right off the top of your head?
I absolutely agree with Commissioner Farah here. I mean, it is really appalling that 10 years down the line, after devolution, we are still not as cohesive as we should be. We are still not as inclusive as we should be. And I can tell you for a fact, when we got devolution, we sort of balkanized the country. And so balkanizing the country then translated into ethnicizing the country. So it's not shocking. I mean, I expected it to happen. Really.
Right.
Yeah, but we are really doing badly, but I know there's some progress.
We'd like to delve deeper into that aspect. I mean, the somewhat not surprising aspect of the report. But Madam Abdullahi, tell us, from where you sit, when you look at a report like this, how does it strike you and what does that bode for a country like Kenya?
Thank you. I think, as the gentlemen have said, this is very depressing. 10 years down the line, and as a HR professional, just one thing stands out for me. I don't think we understand what is our role and what are the different legislations available for us to even start running a county. Simply put, it's like you're putting in position people who don't understand what is their role and what is expected from them, both from the constitution level and also the guidelines that is there for the county governments.
Right, and still with you, one of the things that, one of the points from the report, it was a very large report, but one of the points there was, it appears this problem is caused in part by professionals or skilled workers shying away from these county jobs. Why do you think that is so?
Thank you. I think it's something that devolution, how it was even started, I want to be very careful on the words I use, but it was time for everyone to go back to their homes. But what we forgot to tell people is that there were guidelines around it. Like the threshold was just 70%, no more than 70% of that ethnic group should be occupying the government jobs. Also, it's about the benefits, because I know how it feels for everyone to work from their place, from their homes, or even from their regions. But what was expected, and I think it's still a big gap, is that what is possible to even attract those skilled workers. If you even look beyond the data, some counties are even struggling with the wage bill in terms of the employment. Now, when you bring in this issue of diversity, what does that mean? Are they going to relook into their data? But when it comes to the skilled workers, it's about, are we even presenting the opportunities to them? And if we are, how are we doing it? It's key to note that they may not be shying away, but also how the opportunities are presented to them is key in this case.
Right. Thank you for that. And I mean, it looks as if, the quantity of workers from a single...
Could I also add on that?
Yes, indeed. But in a moment, allow me to, let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Please keep the point. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for joining us this evening on The People's Code. When we took a break, our human resource professional was just pointing out that perhaps some of these job opportunities are not being presented properly to the skilled workers and the professionals of the county. And Mr. Abdulaziz, you had a point to add.
Correct.
Madam,
I don't know whether Madam will agree with me, but many of the skilled workers find most of the counties as remote areas, and so they are not pulled towards those counties. They don't find the commensurate facilities that they need, or maybe they can access in the cities. Good schools for their children, good hospitals like Khan or Nairobi Hospital, and so on and so forth, clubs and whatever. So they find the counties as most of the counties as very remote for them. Number two, there is what is called lack of security for most of them also.
What kind of security?
We're talking about job security, and the length of, most of the jobs, the senior ones, pegged on the term of the governor.
Oh, yes.
For example, the county secretary or the CECs. And so when your governor is out, you might exit with him.
Right.
So there's that kind of job security that they mind. And finally, there is the lack of growth. Save for the CECs who are stuck at that level, there's no ladder.
Right.
Even the county secretary.
That's it.
He is stuck there.
That's as high as you can.
Then the chief of staff are also stuck at that place. Maybe if there's an opportunity, they could be appointed as CEC if one is removed or something, or natural attrition or something. But the most pathetic one is the directors. Then you stagnate there.
Right.
So there is lack of growth,
Right.
and so people shy away from those jobs of the counties. Yeah.
And also, just to add on what my colleagues have said, from a political perspective, you know your CEO at county level is a political figure. The process of ascending to the CEO of a county government is very political in nature. So even when you are rewarding these people in form of recruitment and employment, it is also politically skewed. So whoever comes on board comes with a political affiliation. So for me, as a professional in Nairobi, let's say I work for NHIF or KPA in Nairobi here, for me to really apply for a job at the county in, say, Kwale or Turkana is difficult because, number one, I didn't participate in the political process of getting the governor into office. Number two, as he says, I have to go and sing a political narrative to that particular governor or CEO.
Right.
So if I'm a professional, then even my freedom of thought, the independence to exercise independent thought is not there.
Right.
So I will never leave Nairobi to go and work out of what I call, for lack of a better word, a psychophantic kind of environment.
Yes.
Right. Madam Abdullahi, when you listen to the gentleman speak like this, I mean, clearly it looks rather bad. Talk to me a little bit about, so what should have been done differently from an HR perspective to perhaps protect some of the things the gentlemen are raising, job security, growth, for example, ethics even?
Thank you. What they've said really is a HR issue that currently we're facing. You know, when you're taking someone to a county level, and as he has rightly put, the devolution has come for us to make sure that at least even in the rural areas, we can access some of the opportunities that you'll find in the urban towns. Having said that, what could have been done right, I think even in terms of the structures and the instruments of recruitment should have been clear. And there should be clear guidelines, the same way that it affects within the mainstream public service, within the counties. And I know there is the Council of Governance, there is also the intergovernmental IGRTC. All those should have come together and come up even with the structures in terms of career progression. That you come as a director, like separating the profession from politics. One thing that, and the senator has echoed, is that we have taken county jobs as a reward for those people who have campaigned for us during the elections. We have completely forgotten why devolution exists, and now the HR aspect has been left out. I'm here for the next 5 years, and those who will benefit are the ones who stood with me. So we need to separate the politics and the professional aspect of in that we have counties that are very functional. We have the county public service board. Are they independent from any political interference? Is there a county that you can walk into right now and find staff establishments which are clear? Can you find a county that will even have standardized wage across counties, that whether you're working for Nairobi County or in Garissa, that we have standardized wage, and you can even look at it from that angle. Over and above, we need to revisit. I think the report has given clear recommendations and most of it is focusing on the HR aspect. And even that independence, over and above the County Public Service Board, the HR professionals will actually guide on how recruitment should be done and what is it that we need to remove this unconscious bias that for me to go to Taita Taveta or even apply for a job in Nairobi, no one looks beyond the name.
Right. I mean, I think she raises some brilliant points right there. But as a politician, Honorable Chimera, talk to me about the following. First of all, is there awareness among the political leaders, those that actually are part of the appointments that we're talking about? Is there awareness that they're actually contravening human resource principles or even cohesion principles? Is there awareness of this?
Politics is fairly interesting. Interesting in the manner that it's just about the interest. And of course, politicians, we are very much aware. We are aware that, number one, I need to reward my people. Number two, whatever position that is there, I must fight for my people. It is about...
hold on, just hold that thought for one moment. Let me engage you for a bit. We need to fix your microphone. Let me engage you on this same question. Do you believe that our politicians are actually aware of what they're doing in terms of walking all over the principles of human resources, the principle of fairness, cohesion, the articles of the Constitution that actually talk about this? Do you think they are aware of this?
Well, most of the politicians are aware of it because they are the crafters of the law. The senators and the members of parliament and the National Assembly are aware of the laws. And maybe the county assemblies might not be aware of these laws. It was disturbing to see MCAs in a certain county not being aware of the County Government Act laws or clauses that are there. And when you remind them, they say, "Oh yeah, is it there?" Kind of, yeah. So
with genuine puzzlement.
Yes,
just
genuine. So there's lack of awareness of the laws from the perspective of wananchi and the county level, whether even at the county secretary sometimes, the CSs and the CECs and mostly the MCS. For example, it is shocking. A county public service board chair was asking a question. But I have employed people from other counties.
Wow.
Yes, I'll give you an example. You are in Nyandarua. You employ people from Yeri. So you have employed Kikuyus.
Right.
So you added Kikuyus to Kikuyus.
Right.
All right?
Right.
Or you employed people from Wajir to Mandera.
Right.
So you employed a Somali to another Somali. So you continue spoiling the percentage. And they ask you, that's okay.
How long is that?
We have diversified. So that's how naive even some of them are. And that's a person from Public Service Board.
Wow.
In fact, she was a vice chair of Public Service Board. The other thing is, they even don't know which laws they are supposed to comply with. If their own Bible, their own act, they don't know, then will they know about the Constitution? Will they know about the NCIC Act?
Right.
Will they know of...
Will they read the report?
Yes, will they even read the report?
It sounds like it's a jungle out there.
So there's a problem of awareness.
But you seem to have an opposing view. You think they know what they're doing, they're just willfully ignoring it.
Not quite opposing as such. To some extent, I agree with the commissioner here.
Right.
Insofar as the implementers are concerned, the people who work at the Public Service Board. But when it comes to those who call the shots, insofar as actual recruitment is concerned, then they know what they're doing. They are pretty much aware. And if you look at the report, I think 72% of the counties are not compliant. They do not know Section 65(1)(e) of the County Governments Act. They don't know Article 232 of the Constitution. They don't know Article 27 of the Constitution. They don't know completely. Yeah, and it's not their mistake. It's the politician who says, look, I got many votes from X community. I want them rewarded by giving them.
And speaking of that, can we actually go the ideal way, the idealistic way, and ignore the real politic on the ground? Can we do that?
It's possible. If 28% of the counties are compliant, I mean, we can attain it. It's progressive. Section 65 simply says reserve 30% of opportunities to the
minorities.
Which is very simple. In Kwale, for instance, 30% will be Somalis, a few Kambas here and there, and a few Oromas here and there. I mean, it's possible, and they are there. They live there. It's very possible to attain that threshold. So we can't feign ignorance, and the law is very clear. Yes.
And still, on that aspect, and I'll stick with you for a moment before I bring in Madam Abdullahi. Do you think there's actually political goodwill to shift this narrative, to shift this situation from over 70% non-compliance to actually, having this as normalized? Do you think it exists?
Very minimal, because like I said, the life of a politician is about numbers and about the interests. And if my interest is well battered in a community that has many votes, then I will be interested in rewarding that kind of community for my posterity in politics. So the goodwill will be very minimal. For them to really look at the law and read and implement it to the latter would be very difficult, because we are putting politics in everything. And the good lady, the HR person, told us that we politicized everything, that everything now, devolution is looked from a political prism. So you are not able to even think objectively and think there is a constitution to be followed, there is a law to be followed, can I stick to what the law says? So we end up playing politics in virtually everything. And that's where we go wrong as a country.
Madam, yes, please.
Before Madam,
yes.
Coming back again to the public service boards, you'll hear several of them saying that they are also political appointees.
Yes.
They are appointed by the governor. And so, at the end of the day, their bread and butter must be guarded. So that means the whole thing is political, and the governor must be listened to for them to stay in office. Otherwise, there will be a problem, like is happening in Garissa now. There's nothing working.
Wow.
There's a stalemate. The Public Service Board and the governor are in conflict.
Those are actually some of the issues that crippled the first Makueni County.
Yes, so then sometimes some of the governors do what is called regional balancing instead of the ethnic thing. So they balance according to sub-counties or constituencies. A good example is Taita Taveta County. So he has employed people from this sub-county and this sub-county, and so he has balanced the county. But at the end of the day, they are the same people.
And it makes sense to
the people on the ground. Sometimes it makes sense. So there are so many other intricacies in the counties itself as you go into these things of ethnic and diversity audit.
Even down to clan, inter-clan.
Now, when it comes to clan, now it's my place. In Mandera.
Wajir.
Right? Wajir.
Let's come back to that in a second. I want you to...
Yes.
Victor, before we go to...
It's a very interesting
I might forget, Victor. Allow me for just under 1 minute.
Just point it out. I'll note it down. Sorry, my pen is wanting to...
Under 1 minute to speak about a position called Secretary to the County Public Service Board. And I think the commissioner here might be able to speak about it much more ably. That position has a law prescribing its existence, number one. Has a law prescribing its qualifications. When you go around the counties, you will never find a substantive secretary to the County Public Service Board in office. Because why? They are never available. For instance, Mombasa or Kwale Tana River, no one from that particular county actually qualifies for that position.
Is that so?
Because governors now do not want to really say this is a very powerful position. They give it to someone from Mandera. That position will either be in acting capacity or even vacant for as long as it takes.
Right.
So you end up seeing a situation whereby the Public Service Board is under so much control from a governor. So you don't expect to see, principles of fairness and transparency in the entire recruitment cycle. Because
Right.
even at the level of the person who is in charge of running the board, himself does not exist.
It sounds like that it's a recipe for
One of the
deliberate
qualifications.
dysfunction.
Exactly.
Let's bring in Madam for a quick second here.
One of the qualifications is CPS.
Madam,
Exactly. There are very few.
Madam Abdullahi, I need you to respond to this. First of all, this aspect that our good senator is pointing out is a big issue. It's a big issue,
Yes.
and I want you to respond to that.
It is, actually, it is. As you rightly put, I think if you go to the ICS register, we have about 4,000 certified secretaries. But also, if you look at what the secretary to the County Public Service Board is supposed to do, that position should not actually be reserved for just one profession. It can be held, and it's good to actually increase the threshold that is someone who advises the County Public Service Board on matters recruitment. And one of the things that they're supposed to be doing is even training and bringing this County Public Service Board, because what I would like to bring out is that you can hold someone accountable when you have taken them through the different laws, even if they're the ones who set it. Let them understand and they sign that actually they've been taken through this training, they have been oriented, and they've been onboarded into it. And that's the only way we can remove the bias we see. And then secondly, when it comes to HR matters, especially in terms of recruitment, it's also very important. I know within every governor comes up with his own manifesto. When it comes to implementing that manifesto, it should not be developed far from what we already have in the established legal frameworks. Why devolution exists in the first place. You could focus on bringing some issues out through your manifesto, but it should still be in line with the different legal frameworks that we have. And when I know they've echoed on so many issues, especially in terms of politicizing these offices. And that is the problem we have with the HR. Who is accountable? The issue of the Garissa County, while it's clear who should be the accounting officers for each department, for more than a year, we don't have chief officers. So who is oversighting that? And how is it possible that a county is being run without chief officers for more than a year? So who has the oversight role, and why was that allowed to go? And he mentioned there is a clash between the governor and the county. If you look at that report, no data was submitted from Garissa. And this is a report that it will take few years before it's conducted again. So who will be held accountable for that? And what is it that it's so difficult that it's taken more than 18 months to settle?
To resolve.
By someone who asked for a leadership position. And that is actually what really disturbs me. Where is the gap, and who is supposed to crack that whip and say enough is enough?
Yeah, it looks
Is the county assembly doing its role?
It looks like everyone is playing hot potato.
Are we allowed to give our HR? Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
So the HR is also supposed, the HR directors, in those counties we also have HR directors with clear job descriptions, and they should be advising the governors in writing and submitting to them that this is what is happening and this is what the law says. Even the County Public Service Board should be doing that in writing, rather than doing this Cold War at the expense of the public who have elected, who are losing time, who are missing out on service, and who will you hold accountable for the last 18 months if anything goes wrong in any of those departments, be it agriculture, public service, the different departments that exist. In the absence of an accounting officer, who is that person calling the shot right now? And is it legal within the act that exists and the guidelines that are there? So those are the hard truths. When it comes to the profession, and I think what we are pushing for at the Institute is that give the profession their space, and we will practice what we are supposed to do. Because beneath and everything comes and settles with the HR practice, policies, and procedures that exist within those counties. And in the absence of that, then you find it very hard to hold anyone accountable.
Right. And I think you're raising a very key point, and I want us to go to Mombasa and just catch a little bit of a glimpse and hear from the people there concerning how they actually feel about this. And we've seen, and Madam, you will respond to this when we come back, we have actually seen this sort of attitude, show up in our public institutions as well, and even in parastatals. Kenya Ports Authority had a problem recently about, the diversity in its staffing, and it was quite shocking when that tabulation actually came out. So in a moment, let's go over to Mombasa and let's hear what the actual people talk about, what they're saying about this very situation. Over to you in Mombasa. Let us hear what the people say.
Hii ni kitu inafanyika katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Kianzia rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya kule juu alifuta wale watu walikuwa wamewekwa na rais mwenzake. Akaweka jamaa zake. Sasa kuanzia hapo mpaka uje kwa MCA. Ukija kama kau gavana wetu ambao population yao ni kidogo. Hata wale walimpigia kura ambao ni Waarabu ni watu kama 15,000. Wenye walimpigia walio wengi kabila hapa, wala amepatia kazi ni jamaa zake. Hawa hii ngozi nyeupe. Hii ngozi nyeusi imewekwa kufagia kama sahi mfereji kuangalia uchafu kwa mitaro. Kwa hivyo hii ni kitu iko katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Hii ugonjwa ulianzishwa na rais wa kwanza wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Akatoka moja akafuata nyayo. Akatoka Kibaki hivyo. Akatoka Uhuru hivyo. Na ametoka sasa ni Ruto. Hii ugonjwa huwezi toa. Mpaka mtu aokoke kwa roho ule ambaye amepewa hii mamlaka. Kwa hivyo unaona hii ni kuongea tu. Hii huwezi toa katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Na ukija unakuta wale wengine walikusaidia kwa siasa, utawapa kazi. Hata kama hawafai. Hata kama mtu alifika standard 4, utamwambia awe waziri asimamie watu wengine hapo. Hiyo ni hali ya nchi yetu ya Kenya. Naona haiwezekani. Ukiangalia hii katiba ya 2010 imeweka vizuri. Imeweka usiandike watu wa kabila moja katika serikali yako yote, hata kama hawakukupigia kura. Lakini katika nchi yetu hiyo haiwezi toka. Hiyo ni ugonjwa uko kwa binadamu. Hata mimi ukinipa kazi leo, nitaanzia nyumbani. That is normal katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Kwa hivyo tuache kudanganya tu watu wengine. Mimi naona hii ni kitu ugonjwa uliwekwa na Kenyatta. Pengine hao watu wote waondolewe, wakufe wote, wasaliwe wapya. Ndio nchi itaanza kuingia katika vile inafaa kuingia. Lakini sio sahihi. Makabila yanaachwa nyuma kwa sababu hamna network. Sahihi waanze kuniambia kuna waziri Mulabai, huwezi mpata. Utapata Kamau, utapata Kibichirichiri, pengine upate Onyango. Sasa wakiingia wanachukua hawa watu. Sasa watu kama hawa wamesaulika. Pengine waendelee kuomba Mungu zaidi. Na watoto wao wasome. Iche kutokea miracle. Lakini katika nchi yetu ni ngumu. Hata kama wakiwekwa watawekwa kama nchi ambayo hata ionyeshi popote. Hiyo ni nchi yetu ilianzishwa hivyo. Hatuwezi rekebisha.
When you see this level of cynicism, what does that strike you? What does that elicit in you when you see this man saying, this is the way it is? It looks like it's a government for the connected and the connectors. Those are the beneficiaries.
To me, it's just Kenyans resigning to fate. But, number one is an indictment for our leadership. That the leadership we've always had has always been the one failing the people of Kenya in terms of compliance and in terms of addressing this issue. Because if you listen to that gentleman from Mombasa, blaming generations of leadership from the Kenyatta era up to the Moi era to Uhuru Kenyatta now to Ruto. You see it's a problem that is a leadership question. And that's why as a leadership we must be conscious of what Kenyans want. And we must be mindful of the need to fix this problem. So that generations to come, they can be aware that number one, there's a living document called the Constitution. Number two, we need to comply with the laws that are within us. That is the only solution. Otherwise, we will never have and will never achieve a cohesive society. It will be about me versus them, and about those people who vote for me and those who didn't vote for me.
But Mheshimiwa, this gentleman raised something there. He says, given an opportunity himself, he would do exactly the same thing.
Mindset. It's a culture. We are culture like that as Kenyans. It's a mindset.
So then why are we complaining? You know, I mean, then the NCIC should just find something else to do because clearly,
and not monitor this data.
Yeah, we've resigned ourselves to fate. Madam Abdullahi, and with all her wonderful policies, should just go to Europe.
I have a solution before Commissioner.
Yes, please.
And I don't know whether that is in your report. My solution would be this: let us delink whole county public service from the politics of the day. And by so doing, I would propose, maybe perhaps in my stint in Senate, maybe I can bring it as a legislation. I would propose that can the Public Service Commission, number one, be in charge of setting up the county public service boards in terms of staffing. So let's have people, those board members must be recruited from a level, a neutral ground, and not Governor Chimera, for instance, coming to appoint and recruit board members, because they'll always be dancing to my whims and my tunes. So if I have board members coming from a public service commission, let's say Nairobi, then they're sent to me to Kwale, and they're told these will be your board members. This is your secretary to the board. Those guys will be very professional. They'll just be hiring competent people as per the law. But if I'm governor and I'm the one appointing them, I mean, they will always be listening to what I want. I'll actually have a listener at the table. I tell them, has Victor gotten to 80%? Yes, I don't want Victor, I want Adan. Adan gave me funding for my campaigns. The father to Adan gave me a vehicle to do campaigns. Can he be employed? But somebody from Nairobi, comparatively hired, who's just been brought and been sent to Mandera. The way it used to be before revolution came, that a HR person would be sent from the ministry here to go and work in Mandera. That person would be very objective. He has no political debt to settle with anyone else. That's my proposal in my own view. I don't know how you look at it.
Just before, I'm sorry, we keep finding you when you have a sweet point that you want to drop. We want to take a short break, but when you come back, please don't forget your point. Okay. Also, Madam Abdullahi, I want you to talk to us about the proposal that Honorable Chimera is giving, up to and including what about the localized knowledge that a local person has? I mean, if you send somebody there from another place, will they, how advantageous is that going to be towards...
Not from another place, but recruited differently, not by the governor's control.
Brilliant.
Delinking.
And on that point, let us delink ourselves from the conversation for a few minutes, go to a commercial break, and then link back and get the insight. We'll be right back.
Buda, Freebet imejipa. Wekelea uzito. Cheza MB8. Bet bila stake. Predict the outcome of 8 pre-selected games and win up to 100,000 shillings. Only at maybets.com.
Radio 47 tuko nawe mchana kutwa na usiku kucha.
Something I want to respond.
Welcome back. If you're joining us right now, this is the People's Court, and we are talking about national cohesion. And we're looking at a recent report by the NCIC that has some rather shocking numbers. We're seeing counties like Bomet with over 97%.
One community
in the staffing. Over 97%. I mean,
and remember that counties, if you go to the 2019 census,
yes,
there are several other communities.
Within the same county?
Of course, yes.
But one community has dominated appointments
Yes.
over 97%.
Sorry, sad state.
You
Now,
had a,
now I wanted to
before we
respond.
delete,
I wanted
you had
to respond to
a big point,
the
yes.
Mombasa gentleman's view.
Yes.
What that tells you is that here in Kenya, we are not one nation. We are different nations.
Wow.
All right?
That's heavy. That's heavy.
We are a Kikuyu nation.
Right.
You're a Somali nation. You're a Giriama nation. You heard him talking about the white people.
The light-skinned people.
Yes.
Nyeupe.
And
That's
the
in
black,
Mombasa, yeah.
the black skinned guys. So those are nations. And that tells you we are not united. We are different, fragmented. And that tells you why we fought in 2007. And why we put a lot of premium on our presidential elections. Meaning that we must have our own to be on that seat so that he can help us. It is not a situation where a senator will say, I don't care who is the president, because it makes no difference. I mean, that is the level some countries in this world have reached. But us, we are still in our tribal nations, and we are guarding it very jealously. So he's telling you that even if he is given the chance, he will do the same. All right? We're all thinking in that line. Put it differently in the arena of corruption, for example. Everybody who works up in this country, whether he's a laborer at a building construction or wherever, he's thinking of an extra coin to steal. Something, even if he's going to steal some nails.
Wow.
Or a glass full of cement from your site. He is thinking of stealing something. All right? As the lowest, from the lowest to the highest, okay?
Wow.
And that tells you it has become our culture, that we're all thieves. But again, we start throwing stones at Madam Abdullahi, you know. Yeah, she's corrupt, or Victor is corrupt. But we don't look back at ourselves and say, what is your
my own contribution
to this? So similarly, these things of tribalism and whatever, we all contribute to it.
And you're telling me that where you come from, it's even down to a granular level, to clans, actually.
The problem now in my place is that the issue is
Where do you come from, by the way?
Mandera. It's not about now the bigger ethnic groups in Kenya. It is within the clans now, where the battle is.
Wow. You speak the same language?
We speak the same language. We are intermarried, we are
Same
everything,
culture.
we are shemejis, same culture, everything. But again, our things should be done according to clans. The balance must be according to the clans.
Wow.
Now, the Kalenjin nation is also voicing another problem. They're saying, we are different tribes. Why are you lumping up all Kalenjins? I mean,
under one banner.
And one banner.
The Luyas are saying the same thing?
Nandi, they say we are.
Oh, yeah.
Nandi, they are saying
There's
this.
at least 9 of you, as the name suggests.
All right? Nandi, wanasema ni we are standalone. Okay, Marakwet, we are standalone. Pokot, we are standalone. So those are the problems, again, we are dealing with. But when we go to government record in the census, they are all given the code of Kalenjin.
Wow.
So I have no position to unpack them.
Yeah.
That's the problem I have.
Do you know what, Commissioner, what strikes me as quite interesting, and if we're struggling like this when it comes to diversity from the communities we come from, what if we even bring the subject of gender into that mix, and then it's a whole different ballgame? Madam Abdullahi, I happened to have the privilege to attend last year's award ceremony that you had. I think it was at the Movenpick Hotel. And I saw quite a lot of diversity in not just the people that make up your institution, the institute, as well as the awards that were given to the different companies, the different officers and so on. Quite a lot of diversity. When you listen to the cynicism that we have from the people in Mombasa, when you look at the issue that we have at hand, is professionalism the way to rescue us from this Mtuetu syndrome? Can we tilt the scale? Can we turn the tide using strict and pure and clinical professionalism as propagated by your institute?
Thank you. It's possible, and I want it's very depressing listening to that young man, and that is the truth. First of all, we need to accept that we have a problem. We need to start from there and not say that, no, he is not saying the truth. But we need to give him the faith that it's possible. The office that I occupy right now, before I joined, it was through a competitive process. My former employer knows, my current employer knows. I took actually a pay cut to come to this job, and mine was just to prove the point that it's possible to go through a process, and there are people who still have faith and give you hope that it's possible. So what drives me as pressure is because someone gave me an opportunity to hold a high office like that as a CEO in a state corporation. And mine is to ensure that I preach, first of all, present myself as an example that there is hope out there. Secondly, with the opportunities that we have, I've realized with professionalism, a lot can happen. If you look at all these counties, those who are managing were successful in one way or another in their previous lives, and they were practitioners. Maybe what is missing is that for them to bring in the professionalism. And I am not a politician, but sometimes I wonder, do people really understand that what you decide on today affects your tomorrow? You will not be holding that office for the next 5 years or even 2 years. But what is it that you want to look back and say, this was my contribution? And it comes down to your values and principles clearly outlined for us in the Constitution. 232 Article 10, Public Service Commission always does its surveys every year, issues a report. But what I always ask myself, including the report that was released right now, if we take some seats back and all of us come together and say we are professionals, because I do not think there is anyone who has not gone to school. We all speak the same language, and that is the national language, and we all subscribe to the same policies and the principles outlined for us in the different legal frameworks, then it's possible. Someone needs to start that uprising, and we need to do a holistic overhaul. Honfara talked about us being lumped together. It's no longer about being Kalenjin. So for us, as professionals and those who are in authority, we need to make deliberate efforts. And I like what the senator said. If this did not work for the last 10 years, do we need to overhaul and say, let's give chance for others to recruit the Public Service Board, professionalize it, and ensure that they understand their mandate from another office, separate, because you cannot oversight yourself. Someone needs to hold you accountable. Secondly, in terms of the minority ethnics, we need to be very deliberate in terms of our recruitment. So it's high time, out of all these reports and which have been done, to be developed affirmative action. If you found that 90% are Somalis in Garissa, then you need to tell that county that they need to come up with corrective action plan to be filed with the commission for them to show you what are they planning to do with clear timelines. That's also what we miss. Because what have we left them in the last report? Did we tell them this is what they need to do, and have they committed it themselves? And when I say themselves, is we need to separate the office from the person, so that when a governor is leaving, there is clear handover saying, look, this is what I've committed to, this is how much I've achieved, and I want you to continue from here. In anything that has to do with our legal framework. And with that, we will standardize, we will professionalize these counties, we will bring everyone on board. Also, something else that is of interest is that when it comes to recruitment, the channels you use, is it accessible to everyone? Do you think everyone has equal opportunity? If you want someone to come to Mandera, do you have the other avenues of join the interview online? Do Do you even have policies for flexi work, especially for the non-essential positions whereby someone wants to go and spend with his family or her family, they can still work remotely? So what I will request from the Commission is that commit to these counties and request them. Actually, I've seen you've come up with fines and all that. Let them file with you. What will be their corrective action plan? What kind of support do they need? And they put clear timelines so that when you're going back, you're using this report against the action plan they've put in place against what will come out of that report. I think we just need to take the officers we hold serious. The faith I subscribe to, work is faith. And if I don't give back for every cent that I've earned within that month, then I know there are higher people, there is God who accounts with me. So if we failed within our constitution and the legal frameworks, then can we at least fear the God who created us? Can we even play back that video and show the desperations within Kenya? How will anyone sleep after watching that gentleman's video? Someone needs to show him, actually not tell him. What he requires is action that it's possible and to change his mindset. And I think with professionalism, it's possible.
Right.
Thank you.
There's something I want to add on what Madam has said.
Yes, please.
We have a problem of Advat System in the county governments. Most of them will put the advert in the website, citing lack of funds, putting it in the newspapers.
Right.
And if they put in the newspaper, they put it only in one.
Citizen.
Yeah, but when you challenge them, but when you challenge them further and you tell them, why don't you pin them in all the assistant chiefs and chiefs notice board? Or why don't you announce them in the FM radios? They will tell you, oh, next time we will think about those things. Yeah. Secondly, when you challenge them and ask them, did you encourage people with disabilities to apply? Do you maybe put it in bracket and say, this position, people
is strictly for this?
Or are encouraged to apply, or minorities are encouraged to apply? Not yet. You see? So then the question of being intentional, the question of being deliberate, as you talked about, comes to play. And the county that became number one, Marsabit County, has demonstrated some kind of deliberate action, intentionalism, because when the governor distributes CECs to this so many ethnic communities that live in Marsabit, that you find a Gabra, you find a Borona, you find a Burji, you find a Rendile, and so on and so forth. That's a deliberate action. Further, what he does is that he gives every ward 50 million allocation every annual budget. I mean, you see, to start with. What he does with the balance, I don't know. but to start with, he gives every MCA's ward 50 million shillings for development. Right. And that is resource distribution.
Everyone feels it.
Everybody feels it. At the same time, when you look at the CECs are different, they are mixed. The county secretary is different, the speaker is different. You know, there's a whole mix of the communities that live.
There's inclusivity.
Inclusivity. One thing that usually I feel is that it's not going to be productive for our counties is, get this picture. The governor is seated in front of people who speak the same language as CECs.
Wow.
Pick, for example, Garissa. The governor is seated is a Somali. The deputy governor is Somali. All the 10 CECs are Somalis.
What will be the language?
What is the productivity? I mean, what new ideas will be generated on that?
In fact, what language are they speaking? I'm curious
I mean, most of the time they speak Somali.
Like Bomet, 97.3%.
Now, but at least what mix of ideas will you get?
Right.
Maybe most of them were schooled in Garissa, primary, secondary.
So they share the same perspectives.
Same perspective, same upbringing, same environment.
Never lived beyond Gary.
So what kind of productivity will you get? I mean, it is critical.
That's critical.
Yeah.
And on that very, very powerful and provocative question, what do you get when you put, it's like an echo chamber, it's repeating back what you put out.
Yes.
Let's have a look at what another group of people had to say when we reached out to them and spoke to them about this. I believe this is still from Mombasa.
Nataka kusema hivi, hii ni mahali mambo ya kiubinadamu. Na nafasi za serikali zinagawanywa kulingana na vile kura zilivyopigwa. Kwa sababu sisi wenyewe wa Kenya tumejiweka kwamba tunapiga kura kiukabila. Sasa leo hii kabila ambazo zilishikana kubwa alafu zikakuwa top up na kabila zingine, that is Kalenjin and Kikuyu. So wakati Mheshimiwa Ruto amechukua ile, anaangalia zile kabila zilizomsupport kwanza in terms of development, in terms of the nomination of the job opportunities. Na hii pia ingelefanyika kwa Mheshimiwa Raila kama labda Azimio ingechukua, then those tribes ambao ni Kamba, Coasterians and the Luos and the Luyas ambao walisupport kwa wingi, hao ndio wangeanza kubenefit katika serikali, and that is the culture of our country. So unless sisi wa Kenya wenyewe hatujapata ile civic education ya kupiga kura, the moment utapiga kura bila kuzingatia chama, kabila na ushawishi wa pesa, then tutakuwa na akili timamu ya kuchagua viongozi pasipo kuzingatia ukabila, na yule atakayechaguliwa.
Hii kitu imeanza since independent, na ilianza na mwanzilishi wetu Jomo Kenyatta. When he was kwenye mamlaka, unakuta most of people aliemploy watu wake ambapo from central. When it came to Moi pia akachukua Wakalenjins ndio akaweka kwenye madaraka na katika nyadhifa za serikali. When it comes to Kibaki, akachukua the same wa Kikuyu ndio akaweka kwenye mamlaka. Angalia naye President Uhuru Kenyatta akaja, the same akachukua wa Kikuyu ndio akaweka kwenye mamlaka nyingi sana katika Jamhuri yetu ya Kenya. Now when it come to Mheshimiwa Ruto, ndio amezidisha zaidi sahi. Ameweka Wakalenjins kila mahali. Right now ukiangalia hapa port, almost everybody is Mkalenjin. Hana hata education lakini ameweka tu hapo. Unaona? So long as because ni mtu wake, unaona? Angalia hata kwenye serikali kuangalia kama mawaziri, kama Chirchir, he is not capable even to be a minister. Mess up your
Right. Clearly you can see these are very heartfelt issues.
Resentment.
Very big resentment.
Yes.
But then with the resentment comes a sense of acceptance. This is how we are. Yes. This is how we've been. Yes. And there's no reason to change. But really, so as a commissioner of the great NCIC, do you have something that can actually jolt us as a nation to turn from this, age-old pattern of Mtuwetuism to actually something along the lines of what our dear HR professional is talking about, where somebody's credibility, somebody's competence is the first, is by merit. Everything, appointments is by merit, and where we can actually feel that we are all partakers. There's this shareholder conversation that was going on recently, where all of us can actually feel connected and as partakers of the national cake. Do you think first that this is possible, and what is it that's going to get us there? Let's start with you.
Well, it's very possible to go for merit. Nothing stops you from going that route, because if we want to develop as a country and move from where we are to where we want to reach, the canon that people talk about, we must be deliberate, we must go beyond tribe, we must go beyond political affiliation, we must look at merit. Only then can Kenya make strides of development. When you look at the Asian tigers that were at the same level with us when we got independence, that's the route they took. Painful as it is, they made sure that they only go for merit. Is it Singapore or Malaysia, the country that uses MPS? You remember? MPS as meritocracy.
Meritocracy. In Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew.
Yes, meritocracy, pragmatism. The S I can't remember something, and that's what they go for, or nothing else. Anything else, it doesn't matter at all. So as a country, I think we need to go that route. But on that clip, there is something that is worldwide, that the governments are usually constructed by appointing the people who supported you.
Right.
But don't overdo it.
But it's how you stay safe in Africa. I mean,
no, even in Europe, even in America, you don't expect the president of America to forget about the people who supported him in the campaign.
Democrats.
Yes.
Right.
You hear about the current ambassador of US in Kenya, how she supported the president, and that's why she's here as an ambassador.
Right.
So, but you don't overdo it. You don't overdo it. You do it to a certain level which is acceptable. Like I sometimes give an example of corruption. Corruption was there since life started. When we were young men and women in the villages, we used to do corruption. In my culture, there used to be a calabash, or what do you call that mutungi, a wooden one, which you put milk. So when the father is gone for a trip, the mother will put milk in that kibuyi, and then she will ferment it, and that is now the welcoming of the muzee who is coming.
Yes.
So sometimes on top of the lid of that calabash, there's a breather. Where she
ventilate
to ventilate as this thing ferments.
Yeah.
So as children, we used to remove that small kijiti, and then we sip the milk a little. But we stop at just a certain level. So Mama will
it's not noticeable.
It's not noticeable. Mama will, when she shakes, she will not find the difference. Now, we must behave like that. What we are doing now, people are emptying the...
Oh, you're drinking the whole thing, the whole calabash.
Yes, even when you're doing corruption,
right,
you're drinking everything. When you're employing your people, you're employing everything.
So I mean, corruption is good, but it's the level.
I mean, no, it has been there. I'm not saying it's good, but it has been there.
It's a sense of normalcy.
Yes. It has been there. So this is the example I always give. Yeah. So don't finish the whole
Sip
thing.
small. Just
Sip
a little
small.
Yeah.
If you are appointing your people, appoint a few, but very competent ones again.
Right.
Don't give us garbage.
Right.
You don't give us people who don't deliver.
I think that image is going to stay with us.
Yes. You know, Victor.
Honorable Chimera, what's your solution to this?
Victor, I would say, sometimes a stench assumes a sense of normalcy. It ceases being a stench anymore. It becomes normal. And that's a very wrong perspective to look at things holistically. I think, and I agree with Commissioner here, that we need to really have that shift, and move from that perspective so that we have a semblance of doing things in the right manner. Yeah, and I want to also echo what our good lady Quresh has said. Let us professionalize everything. Because now when we look at it from a political angle, then we won't move forward as a nation. And bold times calls for bold decisions. We must really take bold decisions and say enough is enough.
Even if it's political suicide, from you as a...
Well, we have to balance. I mean, politically, I have to do.
You have to survive.
You have to survive. But then again,
sip small.
Don't sip more.
Yeah.
Don't sip more.
I feel like we're all going back to the calabash. I hope Madam Abdullahi has something different.
There has to be that mix and match. Let us mix the ethnicity aspect of it and the competency of it. I sit in the National Cohesion and Equal Opportunities Committee at the Senate.
Right.
And for the last 2 weeks, even today, we've had engagements with CEOs and chairmen of, chair of boards of many parastatals, KPA, KEMSA, what have you, KMA. And when they come before us, it is shocking. You see the Kikuyus are number one. You see the Kalenjins are number one, number two. Kambas, it's a deliberate, pattern. It's a pattern everywhere. Even I know tomorrow when we probably go and call for, say, CEO for NSSF, it's the same pattern. I can predict that number one will be Kikuyus, number two will be Kalenjins and Kambas, and sadly enough for me, Mijikenas will be 0, 1 or 2. And when you ask these guys, why is it so deliberate? They tell you, all the positions are highly technical.
Wow.
So basically,
What
the
does that
excuse
imply?
is Kikuyus can do more technical jobs than the rest of the Kenyans.
Wow.
And that's a mindset that is there. So we need to really move from there.
So bold times?
Bold times,
bold decisions.
We have to make those bold decisions. And that's what I want to really, commend our president. He's really working that towards
Right.
The other argument, before you go to Cohesion.
So Madam Koresha, you will close the show for us. So prepare your blockbuster, end of show statement. Speak to Kenyans from your heart.
The other argument related to that is that what people tell you is that the Kikuyus are the largest community in Kenya. Okay? Commensurately, then...
that's the logic.
That's the logic.
Right, yeah.
And they also tell you that also in that ratio, the number of people who die in Kenya also, they are the most.
Oh, is that so?
So they tell you we're even more in death. So because of the numbers,
right.
so the probability of one dying is high.
It's higher.
And the probability
any other community.
And the probability of one getting a job is also higher.
Wow.
So that's the other argument that they put on the table.
That's effort to come from one community, branded.
So it's equal opportunity.
You die, many of you must be blessed from you.
Wow.
So it's a pool, it's a basket you have. You garbage in, garbage out.
So sip small. Yours was bold times, bold decisions. Back to you again, equal opportunities. Now, Madam Koresha, this is your moment. A message to the nation, please.
Thank you. I think we are all speaking the same language, but we need to start walking the talk. And we can only do that. You've talked about the gender bit. There is a whole commission earning salary around that. So the reports you create, what are you doing about it? The NIC, what is it that the report is out, so what's next? And in this aspect of ethnicity, ethnic and diversity, we need to make sure people understand why are we doing and then give them the how. From professional perspective, if we work on our values and our characters, we become people of good character and uphold to the Constitution and the offices that we have sworn to protect. I can assure you that with high levels of work ethics, everything is possible. You can go back with the next 6 months, look for the gentleman who you've just interviewed, and one of them stood out for me and said, until we stop taking bribes to vote, until we decide who is the leader we want, then this cycle will continue. But the goodwill is there. I can assure you that the current government is willing to reach out to the minority to diversify this county. We have the Council of Governors. They have the data of the county. So it's time to rewrite policies. It's time to relook of what the 10 years that has been. How do we progress forward? How do we start impacting one life at a time? One mindset at a time, and we will get there. We can only do that by walking the talks ourselves in the different office and push back. To Senator, you have given us hope that you will actually introduce legislation. You have the data
we'll watch out for that.
You have the data to support you on why you're pushing for this, and it should be accepted. And we will all rally behind you. It means a lot to me as someone from the Somali ethnic, and also as a lady, because I am actually marginalized 3 times.
Wow.
That's a story for another day.
Trifecta of doom.
Honorable Farah will understand that if we had conversations on the side,
right.
But it's possible. Let's give Kenyans the reason why we hold this of 47 governors. If they're not many, bring them together in an office and just tell them this is not possible and this cannot continue. And then it's for them to make a decision for the rest of us as Kenyans, because we all fall
Right.
into those 47 counties. Thank you.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Madam Abdullahi. That was Madam Quresha Abdullahi. She's the Executive Director of the Institute of Human Resource Management, if I got it right. And those were her sentiments. We also had two gentlemen here who've been very fair. Goodness, we'll never forget the points that you people made. Number one, we're living in bold times, and we have to make bold decisions. And perhaps part of that bold decision will be to sip small from the calabash, not finish the whole thing. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Farah Abdulaziz, Honorable Farah Abdulaziz from NCIC, Commissioner, and of course, Honorable Raphael Chimera, from nominated member of the Senate and soon to be elected